Welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you this pretty rustic / farmhouse style table decor piece made with the Hobby Lobby wood crafting bunny, ribbons and trims from here and there, a pretty napkin from Home Goods, a wood plaque from Dollar Tree transformed into a riser with bead feet, and custom eggs transformed with a napkin, also from Home Goods, and painted polka dots. Love this one with its rustic farmhouse charm, but this piece could be created in any style and any colors, so keep that in mind as we create this piece together. Such a fun one to create. Come with me and I will show you how. Welcome to all to my channel today. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. And as well, please give this video a thumbs up and or a hype. And as always, I love receiving your messages and interacting with my viewers. Okay, let's get creating this very pretty farmhouse rustic style decor piece. This will be beautiful for a centerpiece or on a buffet table or just anywhere you want a very cute touch of Easter. This is the wood crafting bunny from Hobby Lobby. I absolutely love this piece and I've used it many times in the past few years. Fortunately, they come out with them every year. And my Hobby Lobbies still have them, so if you don't have one, I hope you can pick one up. This is a piece from the Dollar Tree. It's 12 inches long, oval. I'm not sure how much that was. Could it have been $1.25? I don't think so. It could have been $3. Anyway, got it from the Dollar Tree. So I also have these wood ball beads, if you will, and they're the ones with the flat side, with the hole with the flat side. So I'm going to use those, 4 of those, for feet for my riser, as well as going to use a little bit of Waverly antiquing wax to color that up. This is the napkin that I got from Home Goods. Now, I'm going to tell you that Home Goods has beautiful napkins for Easter and just for in general, they have beautiful napkins. This is a kind of just an average everyday napkin, but I'm going to put it on my bunny. You've seen this done probably 100 times. It's on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere you look, but it is a great method of covering bunnies, and I've done it many times myself, and I'm going to do it again today. If you do not know how to do that, I will show you. That bunny does stand on its own. It's a nice thickness, so it's going to sit very nicely on that wood riser. I'm going to make a little scrappy bow for at the neck of the bunny, and so I put together all of my various trims and narrow ribbons, and I'm going to decide exactly what I want in my scrappy bow. Scrappy bow, messy bow, call it what you like. It's very cute on a piece like this. Now, this is a good assortment of burlap color ribbons and trims, and I love to pick these up. They come in a tube, kind of a plastic, kind of a cylinder. Let's call it a cylinder. And they come with, I think, maybe about 8 in a pack, and I often pick this kind of thing up at Walmart because I love their narrow ribbons. They also have some other ones in different color combinations. And I have there as well a light colored cord that is from Hobby Lobby in the wedding section. I have some pipe cleaners there, which I will use for creating a bow. This is Excelsior. Love Excelsior for decorating pieces. And I'm going to use it to nest the eggs in on my decor piece. Now, I'm using the green because this goes so great, as you can see, with that napkin. So that's the perfect color, but it does come in a natural color as well. So I have here some leftover white eggs that are great for decorating. You could pick these up at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to do some polka dot ones. I'm going to mix it up here. And I'm also going to use a napkin to decorate a couple of them. So I have this color. It's a burlap color. I didn't end up having to use that. But I did use a blue. I'm going to add some polka dots to eggs to pick up and accentuate the blue in that napkin, bring out a little bit of color and put it into the arrangement. And I have a couple colors of green here that I'm also going to do one of the eggs with polka dots. I have a couple of different size little spouncers here. These are really small ones. And I picked these up in a multi-pack with sponge applicators and different daubers at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be using some 26 gauge very thin wire. And I'm just showing you these. I picked these up in the Paper Studio. These are in a very farmhouse style colors, and I think they're just beautiful. They're little paper flowers or paper roses. I didn't end up using them on this piece, but I am going to use those. And then I showed you there some wood. They look like wood buttons, and they have like a stitching trim around them, which is what I really liked. And I'm going to put that in the center of my scrappy bow on my bunny. Now, these are the ribbons that I chose. These are craftsoutlet.com. I just got a Craft Outlet order. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit. I periodically put in a big order at Craft Outlet, and I was so happy with everything I got. And I wanted a print ribbon in that kind of mossy color. I also got a plain linen mossy color one as well. Now this works very well in a lot of different types of arrangements. And so I picked that up. And then I also picked up this one, that other one that you saw there, and it also has a texture to it. So I just love patterns and textures. This is a piece of scrapbook paper. I'm going to use these scissors that you can create the scallop, and I'm going to use a couple of little tiny paper flowers from my little paper flower stash that is from the Paper Studio at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to make a little tag to go on my scrappy bow, and that scrapbook paper is also from Hobby Lobby. It's in the single sheet section, and it looks it's got kind of a gloss to it, and it looks kind of weathered or wrinkled. I don't know how to describe it, but I love it, and I'm going to use it for the little tag. Now, this is the piece from the Dollar Tree. Yes, it's a little bit, not perfect, and it isn't necessary that it be perfect because I'm going to have most of it's covered up. It does have some areas that could use some sanding, but this is just fine for this piece. And I wish I could remember if it was like $3 or I don't think that was $1.25. I doubt that. But anyway, look at your Dollar Trees. They had a bunch of these. And I hesitate to say anything about Dollar Tree lately, but, try and find them. If you can't find them there, you will find them at Hobby Lobby. So I got these beads, speaking of Hobby Lobby, these big round ball beads from Hobby Lobby as well. By the way, I did the sides and the top of my riser piece. I didn't do the bottom. Do it if you want. It's certainly not going to show. Now, as you can see, I am just rubbing off the excess off of my beads. I put them on a piece of painter's tape. That helps to hold them steady. Not too worried about getting antiquing wax on my fingers because that's the beauty of antiquing wax. It looks like a stain, but it washes right off of your hands. So I'm letting that set aside to dry now, and I'm going to work on my bunny. Now I'm going to put a napkin on both sides of the bunny, and now I'm using a paint. It's an ivory color. I was trying to stay away from real stark white colors, but more like an off-white or an ivory to match more to the napkin. So I'm going to paint the sides, and I'm going to paint the entire front and back. And the reason why I did this was when you're working with a napkin, you're taking it right down to the top ply, which is very, very thin. And I wanted it to have a white background like the napkin. So I decided better to put a coat of that ivory paint as well on the front and the back. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of ivory color on my eggs, and I stuck a corsage pin in the bottom because it has like a tiny hole down there, and I thought it would help me to hold on to these eggs while I painted them. No matter how you slice it, painting eggs is not that easy. You can also try putting them, sitting them on a piece of painter's tape, but still, no matter what, you're going to get paint on your fingers. But that's okay. It washes off. No big deal. Okay, so now I am going to put Mod Podge, a nice layer of Mod Podge, all over the entire surface of my bunny, top to bottom, to the tip of the ears, down to the toes. And I'm going to let that dry on both sides because I'm applying napkin to both sides. So I'm going to prepare my napkin now. I take a piece of painter's tape, and that's the best way to separate the plies. There's 2 white layers and then the top layer. So I gently pull that off, and I just use that for cleanup. I don't waste too much when I'm crafting. And I felt there was another ply on there, so I'm using another piece of painter's tape, and that will assure me whether or not I have all that separated, and I didn't. So I'm pulling off that other ply there, nice and gentle so I don't rip the napkin. And this is going to be the napkin I'm going to put on my bunny on the front and back. It has lots of color. It has the mossy greens, it has some pale blues, off-white, a little bit of color, creamy colors, and something kind of like a burlap color. And then that napkin, that was a very pretty one as well. I thought about doing the bunny in that one. That's from Home Goods as well, and I'm going to do my eggs with that one. Okay, so now I am going to take some wood glue. And why am I using wood glue off a paper plate? Well, yeah, I have clog issues with it seems like always. I either can't find the cap to my Alien Stacky or the nozzle of my Gorilla Wood Glue, gets clogged. So, I don't spend time fighting it. I just poured some on a paper plate, took a sponge applicator, and now I'm applying Gorilla Wood Glue to the flat part of my bead. And I'm just going to space those accordingly on my riser and let that set off to the side to dry. I have my mini Cricut heat press all fired up and ready to go. And I'm going to place my napkin on there because my Mod Podge is all dry now. Now, you've probably seen this on 100 TikTok videos and Instagram, and I'm sure on YouTube. It's the easiest process. It's such a flaw-free, if you will. There's just no messing this up, basically. It's so easy if you just follow this method. Let your Mod Podge dry. Set your napkin down there just the way you want it. Put a piece of parchment paper on there. Take your heat press, or you could use a regular iron just with no steam. And then go over that, and that Mod Podge is just going to adhere that napkin so flawlessly to your wood surface. Love this method. It's, like I said, been done a million times. If you haven't seen it before, this is how you do it. So now I'm just going to take some scissors and cut away a bulk of that napkin there. And then I'm going to take my little zip sander, and I'm just going to go around the sides of the bunny. And I'm just going to clean up the edges, and you'll see me do that here in a minute. Sharp scissors here, always an advantage. And I'm just going to go around the bunny right in between the ears there as well. Now, in between the ears, it was a little bit too small of an area to use my zip sander. So keep in mind that you can use a nail file as well. You can also use a sanding block for this, or a little piece of sandpaper, just an emery board, anything like that. So now I'm going to go around and clean that up with the zip sander. And this is such a satisfying process. I'm not sure why I enjoy it so much, but I guess because it works so beautifully. But on the downward stroke, I just apply my zip sander to my the edges of my bunny. Now, I don't saw back and forth with it. Notice I just apply my zip sander on the downward motion. And this just takes that excess sandpaper off, excess napkin, off so beautifully. So just go around the entire piece with whatever tool you're using, and then just work your way around, taking off all of the extra napkin. Now, like I said, between the ears, I just used a little emery board or a nail file. Now, my eggs are dry. I have two different spouncers here, or pouncers, or whatever you want to call them. They're little sponge round applicators. Now, I added a little bit of white to my blue to lighten it up to match that napkin a little bit better. So what I'm doing now is on half of my egg, I'm applying my polka dots. Now, I don't want them perfect. That's why I love these sponge applicators. I like them to be imperfect. I do try to get the outer border of the polka dot as much as possible, but then again, I don't obsess over that either. So to let my eggs dry, and then I'll go and do the other half, I just put them on a piece of painter's tape to keep them from rolling all over. Now I'm going to use the smaller spouncer now, and I'm going to put polka dots on this egg. Again, not focusing on getting them perfect. I actually like them if they're a little bit sparse inside of the polka dot with paint, just a very rusticy and natural looking. Okay, I'm going to go around and do that on half the egg, and again, I'm going to rest it on that piece of painter's tape there. When they're completely dry, I'll pick them up and go and do the other side of the egg. Dries pretty quickly. Now, I did the same thing with my green paint. I only did one egg in green. Now, of course, this is all totally up to you. Oh my gosh, what you could do with this piece. You could do it in pinks. You could do it in orchids. You could do it in pinks and orchids. You could do it in multicolors. It depends on what you choose to use for your napkin. Obviously, that's going to be your focal point. So you're going to want to create your piece around your focal point. But, oh my goodness, you could do this in so many different ways. You don't have to do it farmhouse. I've heard people say farmhouse is on its way out. I can't quite imagine that. It's such a charming, beautiful type of decor. And I think there's always going to be people who like that type of decor, the soft colors and the textures. Yeah, but, we shall see if farmhouse is on its way out, really. It's been in style for years, so. Okay, so what you see me doing now, in that package of sponge applicators, they also included some of these they look like little eyeshadow applicators. But wow, these are fantastic for doing eggs. I've never used them to do eggs before, but you get it's a small applicator, so that's why I really like it. So when I do eggs with a napkin, I always like to cut off bits and pieces of the napkin so that it's readily available to just keep popping those pieces on around the egg while I'm doing it. I don't want to have to stop and create little pieces. Now, you can see I'm just tapping it with my finger. This is the easiest process if you're new to it. Keep it a light touch. You can also tap your sponge applicator around the edges just to seal it down. You are not going to be matching up patterns here. Do not worry about it. It is not going to matter. Just pop on, you can pop on as big a piece as you can with a pattern, and that's fine. Or you can do smaller pieces. It's your egg. You do you. But when you get it on, you're going to know that it doesn't matter anyway. You don't have to worry about certainly matching up a pattern from a napkin. That would be, quite a lot of stress. If you wanted it to be perfect, I certainly wouldn't worry about it. I always use the most attractive side of my eggs facing out or up on any piece that I do with napkin covered eggs, so you can really, showcase the best side of it. Okay, I always, unlike a lot of people that I see doing this, I look on TikTok a lot. I get a lot of crafting TikTok videos that come into my feed because I'm a craft maniac. So, the algorithms have picked up on that, I think. But I always cover the sides of my bunny. I don't see other people doing this at all, but I just like it. I'm adding a textured, kind of a burlappy, cream-colored ribbon to mine. And I'm going to go around the piece, but I don't necessarily put it on the bottom. In this case, it's not going to matter too much because I'm going to be gluing that bottom of the bunny to that wood riser. So it doesn't really matter if you want to go all the way around on this particular piece, but normally I don't put it on the bottom of the bunny because I think it hampers its ability to stand up. So I just went around in my typical way, and now I'm just using a little scant amount of hot glue to glue this off-white colored burlappy feel ribbon and around the sides. And I actually like this because it is some type of a little burlap of a feel ribbon. I don't know how to describe it, but it actually has those little burlap hairs, if you know what I mean by that. And I liked it on this bunny. So if you look at the bunny really closely on the intro or the exit video, you'll see that you could see the little burlappy fuzz. And I really like that. Okay, so my riser is ready, all ready to go and ready to decorate. Now I'm going to take Aleene's Tacky for this. And of course it's clogged because, this is just Craft Central Designs, and my glue is always clogged. Okay, so I'm going to put a nice helping of Aleene's Tacky on the bottom of my bunny. And I'm going to place it on my riser. Now remember, face it the direction that you want in accordance to what you're going to, on the front of the piece, how you want it. I'm going to have mine facing this direction. Notice I don't put it exactly in the middle because I'm going to be creating a nest of Easter eggs. So I want to back that bunny up a little bit on my riser. So I'm going to let that sit off to the side and dry. Now I'm going to do my little scrappy or messy bow, whatever you want to call it. I'm definitely going to use those two ribbons that they're kind of stiff, and I think they are great for a scrappy bow. I'm also going to use the twines that you see there and the ribbons. Now I like to really add a lot of visual interest to my scrappy bows. I determined that about 3.5 inches in length would be a good length for this scrappy bow that I want to put on the neck of my bunny. So I measured it out there to show you 3.5 inches is, I think, a good measure for this size bunny, this Hobby Lobby bunny. So I'm going to just randomly cut pieces. And I know basically I just get a feel for how many. I don't count them. I just continue on cutting here. And I know that I want those two, that off-white kind of jute ribbon and then the actually the burlap colored ribbon. Those are going to be at the base of my scrappy bow. And I like to put my widest pieces at the bottom and my most stiff pieces at the bottom. So I have here a snowball trim. I'm going to add a couple of pieces of that. I have some lace pieces. It's not a lightweight lace. It's more of a little bit of a heavier lace. And I have white and I have an off-white color, or kind of a burlappy, creamy color. That one right there. Now, those kinds of pieces in a scrappy bow really add a lot of visual interest. So think about mixing up your textures, mixing your colors, mixing your patterns. Case in point, right here, I am using a polka dot, burlap color with white polka dots. Great in a scrappy bow. Now, this is a pretty twine that was in that multi-pack from Walmart. It's like an off-white and a burlap color. Love this twine for anything rustic or farmhouse. Really, really pretty for that. And then I have just a plain jute cord that also came in that multi-pack from Walmart. Of course, I have a ton of burlap twine. My goodness, do I have a lot of that kind of stuff. I have a special bin for it just because I have a lot. All different colors, different widths, different thicknesses. Yeah, I keep all that on hand. All right, so now I have all of my pieces and I'm ready to go and start creating this bow. So I'm going to do an X pattern, a crisscross, and then I'm going to do the same and add my two strongest, widest pieces there. From there, I'm just going to start stacking in no particular order. Just random pieces, one on top of another in an X pattern. I'm holding that, as you can see, in the center with my thumb and underneath with my index finger. And I just keep slipping those pieces that go in the scrappy bow underneath my thumb. Now, if you have a problem, maybe you have arthritis or difficulty holding things like this, feel free to use a bow dabra on this. You could even use an easy bow maker. I noticed last time I was at Hobby Lobby, I actually took note of it. They do carry the bow dabra there. So yeah, it's a thought if this is hard for you or difficult for you to do. I'm going to keep stacking and stacking, one on top of another, mixing it all up. Now, after I get this all finished, I am going to create a little loopy jute twine bow with a jute cord, and I'm going to create another little bow with that mixed twine, the one with the white and the off-white and the burlap, and I'm going to put that on there. So this bow is going to be scrappy, but it's also going to have a little loopy bow in the center. And then after I do all of that, at the very end, I popped on my cute buttons that I showed you. They kind of look like wood, and they have a stitching border, which is really cute for this particular piece. So I took a piece of 26 gauge wire and I pulled it really super tight around my bunch of little ribbons that are going to create my scrappy bow. Now I pull that super, super tight. I want to gather it up as much as possible in the center. I don't want it bulky in the center, so I'm really pulling that wire super tight. I think I did solicit the help of my needle nose pliers here after I did that, because I want it super tight, and the tighter you wind it, the more it's going to scrunch up the center, just like that. Sorry, I got out of frame there. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm just using my needle nose pliers to help me out here to get it super, super tight. I'm going to snip off the excess wire in the back. Now, you're going to take some time to really open this up. Spread out your ribbons. Distribute the patterns and the colors and the types of elements that you have in your scrappy bow. And then I'm going to go around and trim every piece. Now, I use an angle cut on mine. I certainly would not try and dovetail any of the ends of these ribbons. It's not that kind of bow. Either leave it straight, my recommendation, leave it straight, or do an angle cut. Now, I decided that I should have put, I'm showing you this because it's an option for you. I should have put one more piece of snowball trim on there so it would be evened out on that X pattern. So I just popped it on the bottom. You can do that. There's always ways to kind of fix things, if you ask me, most of the time. Now I'm going around and trimming and doing all of my little angle cuts. Now I do cut on a scrappy bow. All of my elements toward the top of the bow, I cut a little bit shorter. This helps them to stand up and for the bow to have a bit more shape to it. So I do half of my side angling my cuts toward one direction, and then for the other side of the bow, I angle them toward the opposite direction. Pulling back all of my elements so I can do a nice angle cut on my bottom pieces. Those again are a good support for or a good base for your scrappy bow to use your wider, stiffer ribbons. And trims, of course. Okay, just going to go around and trim everything up, including the twine if I want it shorter. This is your opportunity to really shape your messy bow. And it's such a cute piece to go on the neck of the bunny. And as well, my tag is going to attach to that bow. Speaking of the tag, I cut out a rectangular piece. I want to say it might be 2 inches, 2¼ inches. It's small. And I cut out a rectangular piece. And I cut it out, and then I used my scallop scissors. Now, you could also try and tear it a little bit put a dabs of water on the edges of your paper, and you could tear it with your fingers, or you could just cut it messy if you like, or you could just leave it straight, a straight cut. That's up to you. So I wanted to put something on my tag, so I did spring and kind of whimsical lettering. If you want to see whimsical lettering, you could go on Pinterest and just put in a search. And then I'm going to take 2 little tiny paper flowers, one in white and one in kind of a mauve pink, which is also in that napkin. So I thought it'd be good to add just a pop of color on there. Now I'm going to take my distressing ink, I think it's Vintage Photo, and I love these little sponge finger daubers. And I'm just going to go around the edges of my little tag. And I love the look of this. It kind of, gives it a weathered, kind of a distressed, rustic look. And this is super easy to do. And these finger daubers are so wonderful to use for this purpose. So I just go all the way around, giving it as much as I like along the edges there. And I got that ink, by the way, at Hobby Lobby. I've had it for quite some time. It really lasts. Okay, now I'm going to take some Aleene's Tacky and just pop my little flowers on there. And I think this was a super cute touch for this little tag. These little paper flowers. You could do this or not do this. Again, totally up to you. Now, on the corner of my tag, I'm just going to take one of my little tools with the sharp point, And I'm going to pop a little hole in the corner of there. You'll see me do this here in just a minute. But I think now, yeah, I'm going to do that little loopy bow. I'm just going to do it in a little figure 8 fashion, folding over my loops, holding it with my thumb and my index finger. And then I'll just wrap that with a little piece of 26 gauge wire, because it's going to look really cute if you put a little center twine bow on that scrappy bow. It's going to look super cute like that. I'm just wrapping that around, twisting it in the back, cut off the excess, and then I'm going to do one more, I think it's just maybe a 2-loop bow with that little bit heavier twine. It's the one from Walmart. It's the off-white with the burlap colored twine, jute twine. I'm going to put that on there. I'll just glue that on, super easy. Now, I thought I was going to tie a piece of jute twine around that to hold it on. I think I ended up doing it, but then, it wasn't too crazy about the look of it. So that's when I decided to do that other little twine bow with the white and the jute colored twine. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to hide the wire, basically. And I thought that was going to do it for me, but I didn't end up liking it. So you see me, I'm just tying a simple bow here. Now you can try this if you have a problem doing like a figure 8 bow. I mean, one way or another, you're going to need to do a bow, no matter what your preferred method is to do it. Because it's going to look so much better on that scrappy bow if you do that. Okay, so that's going to go right on there. And then you see I made another, that bow that I mentioned that I was going to make. Now I'm going to just pop that little dab of glue in there and put that twine bow on there. That's the 4-loop twine bow. And then I'm going to also glue the other one on. Now, I glued it on and I had to end up peeling it off because I had remembered that I needed to attach my tag. So fortunately, I was able to just peel off that bow that I'm putting on right now. But if you do this with a tag, go ahead and put your tag right there and then pop a little twine bow on top of that. That's what's going to hold the tag onto your bunny. Okay, so we have our tag ready. I am going to be making a bow for the lower, as you look at it, the lower right side of that riser. And it's going to be really dress up this piece. And I was trying to decide which, ribbons I was going to use. Now, I have that plain mossy colored one, which goes really well with the napkin. And also the striped one goes very well with the napkin. But do you see the one that I chose, the burlappy colored one? See how it has a design on it? I always say, and I know I'm repetitive, but choose your elements with patterns. It just adds something spectacular to every piece. So I'm going to use that ribbon there. It's going to coordinate well with the napkin. But I like it because it has a texture to it. And then I chose the striped one. Maybe you would have chosen the plain mossy one. That's fine. That's a pretty linen ribbon, by the way. And those are from craftoutlet.com. 1.5 inch wired ribbons. That's what I would use on this, 1.5 inch wired. So I'm going to create a 4-loop bow here. I just fold over my loops, pinch it in the center. I made my loops about 5 inches. I don't want the bow to be too overpowering for the piece. or too big. That's what I mean by that. Okay, so I'm going to take a little piece of a pipe cleaner and I'm going to wrap that around, and that's going to be my base bow. Now back to the striped. I decided on that striped. And again, maybe you wouldn't use the striped, but for me, I like to mix up my patterns because I know ultimately what it's going to do for that piece. So I'm putting two different colored bows together, and it's going to look really, really fabulous. Okay, so I have my striped. Love this one. Really, really pretty ribbon. I can't stress enough how craftcetraldesigns is a great source for good quality ribbon. Great source for just so much variety. Excellent service. I submitted an order. I got it 3 days later. I mean, that's really nice. That's a nice feature because when I decide I want something, I want it. I want it like now. So the fact that I can get something on the internet through the U.S. Post, oh no, I think they deliver, it might be FedEx or UPS. It's one of those. Very reliable. Craftcetraldesigns, you get your order quickly. Okay, so now I created another 4-loop bow. By the way, I have to say it. If you would like to learn to create bows like I do in a slow, methodical manner, explained explicitly, look at my playlist. I have multiple tutorials. I'm going to create a center loop right down the center. I'm just going to simply roll my ribbon under, creating a loop there. Sorry, my hand's a little out of frame here, but I'll explain all this to you in great detail if you want to look at one of my tutorials or multiple. I have different kinds of tutorials: mixed ribbon bows, single ribbon, stacked bows, figure eights, yeah, all kinds of them. Okay, so I'm just finishing up with my bow here, and I'm going to attach this to my base bow. And this is really going to pull the colors from my napkin and bring them down toward the base of this piece. And that's what you want to do. You want to pay attention to your focal piece and then build your piece around that. And that's what I did here. Pulling these pretty ribbons together to create something beautiful that's going to sit on the riser, complement the eggs, and complement the napkin. So I'm attaching my two bows together here with a pipe cleaner, twisting that in the back, and I am going to just be hot gluing that right to the riser. I'm going to snip off any excess pipe cleaner there so I can get a nice flush application of that bow upon that riser. I'm going to trim up my tails in an angle cut. This moss ribbon is so pretty. I wish I'd have gotten this when I've done a number of previous bows, because this would be great, and so many types of arrangements and incorporated into a bow on a wreath. Yeah, I love that. First time I've had that particular stripe. Okay, now we got all the hard parts done. We're just going to now start putting it all together, and this is the fun part. I'm using my little pointy poker tool, and I'm going to poke it right through the paper and immediately poke it right into my finger. And that hurt. But ouch, I did it. So anyway, I made a little hole, and I'm going to take a very lightweight jute cord, just a really, lightweight one. And I'm going to poke it right through the hole. And I'm going to put a dab of glue there just to hold it where I want it. just like that. Now I'm going to take that and attach it to my scrappy bow. And this is when I discovered that I shouldn't have put that top bow on, and I peeled it off and glued on my tag and then put the bow on top of it. I may have shown you that, not sure. Okay, time to get messy, but I love Excelsior. I don't care how messy it is, I love it. This is going to create the most perfect bed for my Easter eggs, or nest, or however you want to say it. And yes, it's going to be everywhere. But the thing about Excelsior is it does hold together for the most part. So I took sections and just figured out how much I needed to go all the way around the bunny. Now I'm only putting the eggs in the front. I'm not putting any on the back, but I do want Excelsior on the back just so my piece is completely finished. So I'm going to keep going around here. That's the messy part. And this Excelsior, if I didn't mention it, I purchased this at Hobby Lobby. I'm sure you could probably get it on Amazon too, but this color Excelsior really goes great with that napkin. So yeah, just going to get enough pieces. And by the way, kind of knead it with your fingers. That will kind of collect it a little bit. But you will have some droppings, and that's okay. You know, just I shove everything on the floor and then I clean up later. I don't worry about it. Okay, so how am I going to keep this Excelsior on this riser? Very simply, just some dabs of hot glue. You'll be surprised how it will stay collected and how well that will hold it. And here we go. Just putting a dab here, a dab there. I chose areas where I had like a big collection of the Excelsior, like a wad of it, if you will. Now, I'm putting down my basic layer of this Excelsior, but after I get my eggs on, you're going to see me place Excelsior between the eggs, around the eggs, and this is when you are going to really appreciate this Excelsior because it's going to look so pretty around the eggs. Finishing up on my application here, just dabs of glue here and there. Be careful, don't burn yourself. And then we're going to trim it up. Any of the wild scragglies, you could just trim those up with your scissors. And that's my basic bed, if you will, of that Excelsior. Now I'm keeping those little pieces there because that's what I'm going to put in between my eggs. Now I'm going to start, do a little dry run here to see how I'm going to position my eggs. Now, of course, I'm going to glue those down and I'm going to just play around with the placement of them. And they're going to be pointing different directions, pointing up a little bit, pointing forward, pointing off to the side. Be creative in how you place your eggs. Now, that one egg with the green, you could see there when I put the ribbon on that green wasn't quite right. I actually corrected that. You're going to see later that I decided to go with the other green. And yeah, it wasn't too late. I actually did it after the piece was all put together. So, you know. Yeah, I got to do what you got to do, right? Okay, a nice dab of glue. I'm going to put it right down there at the base. Not a little bit toward the side, just right there at the area of the tail, kind of pushing that center of that bow right up to the tail. That way it's going to kind of go around the side a little bit, but it's going to wrap around the front a little bit as well. So it's basically hugging the back end, if you will. Now I did put a couple dabs of glue underneath a couple of those bow loops so they would stick to the riser, and that worked just fine. Right there. And then I think I did another one in the back, on the back side. So now I'm going to arrange my eggs and see where I want them, because they're going to be placed obviously around the bow. And I found that 5 eggs was an adequate amount. They're actually the size of like a regular egg. I like the white ones at Hobby Lobby because you could do whatever you want to them. And I quite frankly find the eggs that they sell that are already colored and speckled to be kind of weird colors. I can never match them to anything. So be aware of that if you go to Hobby Lobby to get your eggs. They're kind of weird colors. They're like a weird pink and a weird orchid, and nothing ever matches. So another good reason to pick up some of the white ones, and you can just do what you want to do. Okay, so I decided on the placement of my eggs, and notice how I'm pointing them different directions. That one I think is going to be pointing upward. Yep, I popped that right in there. And then also look for the best side of your egg. I did that as well. I determined which side I really wanted out. Now, there's a little space there, but that's okay because I'm going to pop some Excelsior in there. And yeah, it's going to look so pretty after I do that. This is a step I would not skip with your eggs. Putting those little bits in between the eggs after you get them all applied. Filling in all those little spaces. This is where the Excelsior is really going to take your piece up to another level. Much more finished, much more attractive looking. All right, so that's my 5 eggs. Now it's time to take bits of Excelsior. And I'm going to pop them in between the eggs. I even put a little dab of Excelsior behind the bow, poking up around the bow. Yeah, this makes a huge difference. Don't skip this part. I think I already said that, but yeah, I'm trying to emphasize it because this really makes it so cute. So see any of those little spaces that you could pop in your Excelsior? See them? And I like the little scragglies sticking up. That's why I love Excelsior. So, okay, dab of glue on those little bits. And then I usually take my scissors and poke them down in there. I thought I showed you that, but little dab of glue, putting it in that little sparse area there. And now I'm going to put one in there, showing you. So yeah, if you need to poke it in, just use your scissors. I thought I showed you that, but I didn't. Okay, now you can see where that Excelsior really goes well with that napkin. Now I'm going to take a little piece and tuck it in behind the bow. Just let that Excelsior just really provide a lot of whimsy to your piece. I'm going to lift my bow loop and pop it right in there. Yep, so cute. Go all the way around the front, around the eggs. I'm going to add even more here. I see that egg out there on the end, the one with the white with the blue polka dots. I see a space just as I'm looking at it here, and I know I'm going to be popping Excelsior in there. And then I'm going to put one piece right behind the egg. So I'm basically framing my eggs and creating an Excelsior nest. That's what I'm doing. Poking that in there. See how I'm just filling in the spaces, really surrounding my eggs. One more piece. I think it's going to be right underneath. Yep, right underneath that egg right there. There's the scissors. I do use my scissors to poke things in. And then I think one more piece is going to go right there by that egg. See how I kind of knead it with my fingers to get it collected? That Excelsior is very compliant. You can really accomplish so much with it. Okay. All right, I'm loving this piece. I would love this piece as well, if it were in pinks and orchids, of course. Yes, I would. But yeah, I do love this style of decorating. Okay, so now what do we have to do? Put on this scrappy bow. Yep, and this is when it's all going to come together. Oh, I'm trimming. Don't forget to trim any of those like crazy, pieces of excelsior poking up where you don't want them. And now it's time. I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to put that scrappy bow on there, right at the neck. And now I don't put it straight up and down. I kind of tilt it a little bit. And this is when I remembered, Dwayne, how are you going to attach your tag? So, I think I even showed you. I peeled off that top bow, and then I'm just going to pop my tag in there. There it goes. Peeled right off because it's hot glue. If I'd have used Aleene's, it might not have been such an easy process. Okay, so now I'm just going to put a little dab of glue right there in the center, and I'm going to put the little tails of my twine to hold my tag right down the center in that little dab of glue. I'm going to trim off the tails of that tag, and then I'm going to put that other bow right on top, and that is going to be it. Except for the button, which I don't even think I showed you that I glued the button on there, but honestly, it's elementary. Little dab of glue on the back of a button, put it right down the center of your little twine bows. And that button, I think, was a really, really cute touch on this piece. It has like the look of stitching. Really cute. Okay, so now I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to tilt it just a little bit on that bunny. Adding my hot glue, and I'm just going to pop it right on there. Any second here, it's going to happen. Oh, good grief, what am I doing here? Probably trimming something, knowing me. Okay. All right. So now we're going to use hot glue on the back. We really are. It's coming. There it is. And then I tilt it just a little bit off to the right side as you're looking at the piece here. And then don't forget, when you get your scrappy bow on there, really fluff it up. Get those twine pieces to stand up. Trim up anything that you need to now that it's on the piece. Situate your tag to rest exactly the way you want it on the front of your piece. If you're using a tag, which I think it's super cute. You could put anything you want on it. I just thought spring might be a good word. And yeah, that's it. That's it for this piece. Yeah, a lot of detail, but a lot of fun. Yeah, it's really super cute. I hope you like this one. And I hope you're thinking about doing one and just creating it in the colors and the way that you prefer. Now, I think I did show you that, I'm still trimming here. I think I did show you that I corrected that green spots or polka dots on that piece. And I'm glad that I did that because it really, really was so much better. Sometimes it's really hard to match greens. It's very hard to match pinks, even sometimes blues. So sometimes you have to make a little change after you have everything all together and see how it ultimately coordinates. And for me, that green polka dots on that egg just were not getting it. So, yeah, I decided. Now I'm just giving you a look at how it looks so far. I love it. So pretty. I didn't even put an eye on the bunny. I just left it plain with just letting that napkin be like the star of the bunny show, if you will. That's so pretty. Really cute piece. Okay, so here's where I made the change. That was my original color, too citrusy, too something. This was going to be a much better color. So I took my little bouncer that I used originally on the egg, and it's already on the piece, but I can go around and cover up those spots or those polka dots very easily. In fact, it holds eggs very nicely for me now, where I was struggling before. But, fixing that one little thing, sometimes that happens where you have to backtrack and change a little something. So, that's a word to the wise. Don't give up on your projects. Try and fix it. Okay, one last look at this pretty Easter decor piece. Tell me what you think of this one. Tell me if you plan to make it and how you would create yours and in what colors. I love hearing your feedback. I love hearing your ideas. I can learn from you as well. So remember to subscribe if you are not currently. Give this video a